That's it. And you're on, Hamzy, all the technical duties tonight. You're in charge of the comments, which I'm sure everyone you'll bring up all the best ones and they'll get involved in the chat. And of course, it's Friday night, which can mean only one thing: the bar is open. What's your tipples tonight, boys?
I've got a wee Stella. Did we just come in? Were we no live there? And Anthony's done like a.
Aye. Sorry.
Aye, just to make the folk aware though, because they're probably like, what the hell's going on?
For 2 minutes. I didn't care why this was black either, because I never changed anything. And this is black, and I'm not want to touch anything in case it changes.
Aye, it's.
So it just seems like it's coming to us live to John's bedroom.
I can.
As long as the folk can hear us.
Aye.
Can you hear us? Somebody tell us.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So welcome along, guys, and welcome along everybody in the chat as well. And Franny's in charge of the comments, so as I say, he'll bring up all the best ones, and we can use those as discussion points as well. But we'll just get started right at the beginning, boys. Obviously, Wednesday night we were in midweek action, home match against St Mirren. As me and Wally will testify, one of the coldest nights ever for going to watch a game of football. But it was. In the end, Ross, St Mirren, the only team that we've dropped points to in terms of defeat this season, but we were more than worthy of the win on Wednesday night.
Aye, in the end, we were more than worthy of the win, as per usual. I thought, first 20 minutes, I thought we didn't look like ourselves at all. I thought that our passing was poor. And actually, if memory serves me right, we didn't play well at all in that first 20 minutes, and I think we probably found ourselves definitely 1 up, possibly 2-0 up, but it wasn't. I mean, there was a couple of moments of quality to get the goals, but it wasn't like a period in the game where it was like fully quality. I think the reason they were up was down to what they're built on was just pure hard work, because like I say, there wasn't any quality, but all you want if they're not playing well is hard work, and you get that for this team every single game without fail. It's what Ange has built his team on. So I mean, it wasn't great to start with, but we got through that period and we got our goals, and then it was easy street for there. Obviously, St Mirren had the chance to go up 1-0. We may be touching it later. I think they came to the right decision. We got away with one. But St Mirren are a physical team. Curtis Main, he's an awkward guy. He always seems to cause us a wee bit of bother, but he's just not got that like quality to really, really trouble us. But aye, again, all in all, a good performance, but more importantly, another 3 points, a clean sheet, and a comfortable win.
So you're bang on, Ross, and Franny, as Ross alludes to there, the first opening period of the game took a little while to just find their foot, and obviously St Mirren had the goal chopped off, and as the replay showed, it was the correct decision for that to be the case. But obviously they caused us a hell of a lot of issues in Paisley earlier in the season, so it was important that we kind of stamped our authority on the game as much as we could. But as Ross says, bit of huffing and puffing in the first half. And yet it ended up being one of those strange nights where the scoreline was as relaxing a night in the end as what we can remember at Celtic Park for a while, because there's been a few close ones recently.
There has been. It was. I think if you watched, like Ross said, if you watched the first 20 minutes and said we were going to win 4-0, I think, and you said it was 4-0, I think folk would have kind of laughed at you. It was a strange sort of 20 minutes. We weren't. I don't think we were brilliant, like Ross said, and it's just maybe one of the things, like a midweek game, they sometimes can be a wee tricky affair and stuff. And Curtis Main and the boy, is it a younger sort of the boy up front? I think they were. They were. Wouldn't say they were causing us tons of bother, but they were getting at Starfelt. They were testing Starfelt and Kobayashi and stuff. And then I think it's a boy Efferin. I don't really know what the boy plays in the middle park. He seemed to get a good hold of the game and stuff. And I think, I wouldn't say they were on top of us, but they were solid enough. And then just eventually we scored for a set piece and stuff. And there on, it was kind of sort of a cruise control, and it turned into a fairly convincing result. But I could have been a sticky performance being at midweek against a team that's beat us this season, but the class eventually shone through, Anthony.
It did indeed, and that's probably we'll start off with just going through the goals. Ross, obviously there was a few changes to the lineup, and we'll obviously touch on our debutant at centre half just once we get through to talk about the goals. But the first one came from Abada, who's done that, what he's done so often in the past for Celtic, just being in the right place at the right time. The St Mirren keeper, it was almost like a carbon copy of the game the week before when we had 3 or 4. Even Mark had 3 or 4 good chances, all very close to each other. We were hitting the post, hitting the woodwork, and keepers making great saves. But this time we got the break of the ball, and Abada felt him perfectly. Not actually as easy a technique as what I was saying that to my nephew who was at the game with us. Is that was harder than it looked, but he gave the keeper no chance and set us on our way to a good one.
I think he summed it up pretty well. Abada just does what he does. Like you've said, he finds himself in the box, in the right place at the right time. A wee bit like Maeda at times, a wee bit Kyogo at times, like Giacomakis at times. They all seem to find themselves in that right spot. But like you say, there's a couple of wee shots at goal, one hits the post, and it comes back out to him. And like you say, it was harder than it looked. A shot on the volley, no matter how close it is, you've still got to control it. And he does that, and he puts it into the far corner, and it's a really, really good finish. And I have not critical of Abada, but I think in the past I've said, and I'm sure people will agree, that he's not got the best shot. He doesn't always connect with the ball great, but you can see he is improving in that, and he's probably, I mean, you can't argue with his numbers. Mm-hmm. Almost every time he's on the park, he scores. For, what is he, 21 maybe? 20, 21?
Yeah, he's still very young, yeah.
He plays beyond his years, and he's been out of the team recently. Obviously, he's been coming in and making substitute appearances, but that was his first start in a number of games, I would say. And he's came in, and once again, a few bits chopping and changing, but the team still rolls on just the same. Everybody knows their jobs, and Abada's no different for the rest, and he gets his goal and he sets us on our way.
Certainly did. And Brian, you're obviously a fan of Abada yourself, but he's like Ross says, been in and out of the team as quite a lot of the guys out in the wide positions have been this season. Like perhaps maybe 1 or 2 eyebrows were raised that Maeda was dropped, but that's just the way Ange plays at the moment, isn't it? He just plays the fixture, and Abada certainly came up trumps.
I think, like you said, Ange plays the fixture. I think a lot of us were surprised considering Maeda's form since the World Cup and that one, since the league's restarted. Maybe did come as a wee bit of surprise that he dropped out, because he's absolutely fine now. But then I know Jota kind of started the previous game, but Jota then went into maybe what some folk consider his more natural position at left, and it's, if you're dropping Maeda, it's no bad substitute to sort of have in his place as somebody Jota's ability. And then it was say Abada can always come in. Forrest has even came in and done a job of things, but Abada's just a kind of way. Ross is more. I think he's better instinctively when he's got time on his hands. So I don't think he's the best. I mean, like he's touched on, he's still a young lad, like 2021 or something. He'll maybe just develop and get a wee bit more confidence and learn how to beat a boy better and things. But I think it was, like you say, it was came for a corner. It wasn't like scrappy, but I think it was Starfelt won the initial header, then Kobayashi actually nearly gets a dream debut and hits off the post. But I think, like you say, Anthony, that finish, it was a great volley and great technique and stuff. And he's got that in his locker. He can score really good goals, and it's just when it's instinctive for him, it generally gets a positive result, whether that be for a cross or the shot when he's not really got time to think about it. So it was a great goal for him, and like you said, it just got us off to, it kind of, I wouldn't say eased the nerves, but it settled us into the game and got us flowing from there on.
It sure did. And then, of course, a little wonder man, Kyogo, come up trumps with 2 goals, both of which had to be sort of looked at by VAR. In both occasions, the correct decision was that he was onside. First one, obviously, Ross, just great wee bit of skill just to dink it over the keeper with a chip. And then goal number 3, great work down the left-hand side for Jota. Just found him absolutely perfectly in the box. Very easy, but hard balls to defend against, and it takes the keeper out of the equation as well. And he's just in sensational form at the moment.
Aye, I mean, so that first goal was certainly right up there for a contender for goal of the season. I mean, Hatate's pass, unbelievable. He was, I'm sure we'll touch on him, he was unbelievable. Probably our best player again. But I know that there's been an argument, Kyogo, Giakoumakis, stuff like that, and I'm on sort of erring towards Kyogo, but I think they both, I've said previously, bring different qualities to the game. But I think that goal is probably why Kyogo is in the team before Giakoumakis. I don't think Giakoumakis scores a goal like that. Kyogo, he doesn't make the run that Kyogo makes, doesn't give the opportunity for Hatate to play that pass, and then he doesn't have that. For me, he doesn't have that deft touch to take it over the keeper. And by the way, in such close proximity to the goal as well, to get it over the keeper who was coming out to him and close to the goal and get it up and down so quickly. Such a deft touch. And I mean, he showed that in the League Cup final last year. Similar finish. Well, slightly different, but that run, the ball through, and he dinks the keeper. It was just, he's got that in his locker. Giakoumakis scores, he's probably a better finisher than Kyogo. I don't mean to compare them here, but he's probably a better finisher than Kyogo. But Giakoumakis scores all types of goals, but he doesn't score the sensational goals like Kyogo does, the ones that he's probably no right to score. He scores strikers' goals, number 9 goals, in the box, in around the 6-yard box, one touch finishes. He doesn't score goals like that. He doesn't make runs like Kyogo does. And that first goal for me, I think you'll be hard pushed to beat that this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an absolutely fantastic strike, although we've scored that many great goals this season that we could probably have a goal of the season competition on Sports Team of a category all of our own. You know, when you think of some of those absolute belters, especially at the start of the season. But Franny, yeah, as Ross touched on, it's a debate that's going to rage on until it maybe comes to some sort of conclusion next week, as we're going to perhaps touch on later in the show with regards to transfers. But as Ross says, it's goals like that Ange would use as evidence as to why Kyogo is the number 1 pick up front when fit.
It's I mean, strange that I was obviously still saying in the group chat that I would still hate Giakoumakis started, even though Kyogo's went and scored another 2 goals.
Oh, Franny, I'm just very sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, I was reading that just as the goal was going in, and obviously you guys are watching it like a minute or 2 behind, and I was like, just wait and see, son.
I know, it's mad, but it's just, I think with Giakoumakis and Kyogo, it's one of the ones, it's just how you prefer it at the end of the day. But like I said, I think it was me, Ross and Stephen on a couple of Fridays ago, Stephen posed the question. I said, everything the way we play is made for Kyogo. Absolutely made for it, but I'd still pick Giakoumakis. So there's no rhyme or reason why I would pick Giakoumakis ahead of Kyogo. It does, as good as he is, I don't think he properly, Kyogo suits us better the way we play and stuff. And like you said, that the goal he scored, the first one anyway, obviously Giakoumakis would kind of, the second goal is the type of goal Giakoumakis scores for fun, really. But I don't think, it's for one, he's not got the pace to not necessarily make that run, but to obviously get the pass for that, like if to read that and then get that pass. So I don't think Giakoumakis, like you say, scores that goal. I don't think he would actually, I'm not saying he's not got it in his locker to chip him, but I don't think it would have been his first thought to chip him and do that. But Kyogo's just his top goal set. Was it 17 goals? I think he's got already. So it's that's all Postecoglou needs to sit and say. I know you could argue that Giakoumakis is not getting his chance, but do you drop a guy that's banging in goals? It's like I think he's averaged a goal a game. It's hard to drop a guy that's doing that, because if you're going in with a guy that's with roughly a goal a game, you're essentially 1-0 up before the ball's kicked, really, in a roundabout way, without sounding like Michael Beale. But
you put punctuation in between the statements you're making, Franny, so very worried every time you're in like that space cadet.
It's all you kind of just look at is just say, as I say, I'm Giakoumakis' biggest fan and stuff, and still would have him before Kyogo, but all I need to say is, but look at the evidence I've got in front of me. He's top goal scorer, he's scoring a goal a game. What do you want me to do here?
Yeah, that's it.
See what you're... I was just going to say, like, Franny's obviously saying he would still have Giakoumakis, but he understands why Kyogo's in the team. I actually haven't got a preference. I'm probably, like I've said, erring towards Kyogo, but I've not got a preference. I've got a preference for certain games. I would play Kyogo more often than not, but like I said last week, there's certain games where I think it's ready-made for Giakoumakis to start. So I love the both of them. I absolutely love Giakoumakis, and probably this time, maybe a wee bit further into the season last season, I was more towards Giakoumakis. Obviously, Kyogo was out injured, but I would say at points, probably last season, I was more leaning towards Giakoumakis. Certainly when you seen him playing in the 3-0 game at Parkhead when beat Rangers, he was outstanding that night. And then even earlier in the season, like I've alluded to before, when he came on for Kyogo, I was probably erring towards him then. But Kyogo has proved time and time again in the last number of weeks why he's in the team. And again, it's like almost every other position you could say in the team. It doesn't matter who you play, they're going to bring it, and they're going to be top quality.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, as Joey says in Friends, it might all become a moot point, very sooner rather than later. But it's
there's a stat. I think Alistair's got that round the wrong way, but I'm sure it is like something like 31 goals in 83 games. Well, it's something mental. I think Kyogo's got something like 38 goals in 61 games for us or something. It's mental. Yeah.
You can't argue with the stats for both of them, really, considering that Giakoumakis came in later as well and had to take on that mantle when we were behind in the league, and our star striker at the time was out injured. It couldn't have been easy, especially with they didn't go off to the best of starts, but he was pivotal in that run-in last season. And I think we probably all agree, although Ange has kind of laid out that nobody can be guaranteed more game time or whatever, I think we all just think, even bringing him on, that 60-minute introduction kind of dried up over the festive period as well. And it's obviously there'll be reasons for that, but definitely we love them both, and if and when it becomes official that Gigi's away, I'm sure we'll pay a good tribute to him on this show, because he's just, like we say, he's a complete one-off kind of striker for me. He's not a player I've ever really seen at Celtic before, and probably the best tribute we can pay him is the topic started on talking about how good Kyogo's 2 goals were, and we'll finish with paying tribute to Gigi. So there we go. 2 cracking strikers up front. It's not the worst headache in the world to have. And Franny, I'll come straight back to you. The goals were finished off on the night by David Turnbull. Came on as part of a triple substitution on the hour mark, and played his usual couple of cracking passes here and there, but it was topped off with a fantastic strike from a corner kick. Put a work out on the left-hand side, played off by Aaron Moy, and he just took his one touch to control it and bang into the far corner from about 25 plus yards out. Goalkeeper, no chance. It's just something that he's got in his locker, and with all these midfield options, he's maybe just done it at the right time to remind Ange that he's there, kicking on the door, ready to be called upon when needed.
I don't think of memory Turnbull has ever really let us down since he's even came in the door. Obviously, it took him a while to get his Celtic career up and running and stuff, and I would kind of say he's not necessarily looked back, even though he's kind of been out, not been involved as much this season, definitely as much as he would have expected anyway, and maybe us. But it was a really good finish. It's something we know that he's got in his locker. He does like a pop shot out there, and I think he generally always hits the target, really, which helps, it makes the keeper up. The keeper's kind of always got to be on his toes. And I seen a few things folk were making a big deal about his celebration and stuff and that, and you're like, I don't think Turnbull really celebrates a lot of goals, in fairness. At the end of the day, it was a fourth goal with minutes to go against St Mirren. It's not necessarily a crucial goal in the grand scheme of things, so he's probably just like, well, it's like I say, it's the fourth goal. I'm happy to be here and stuff, and just showing you what I can do. And he has been unfortunate because I think obviously going at it like last season might have just been out of luck, like necessity. I think he played every game, maybe not necessarily started, but featured every game for Ange up until he got injured. And then I think he got injured round about like the sort of January window, and obviously we brought in Hatate, O'Reilly, and then they just hit the ground running, were flying, and Turnbull just found it hard to get back in the team. So he's been really, really unlucky. And I hope I don't see any transfer. Obviously, there was a West Ham thing going about in the summer and stuff, but I mean, maybe for the guy's own career, maybe he would like to move on. But I really hope that he does stick around, because I think Wednesday night showed that he has still got a lot to offer the team.
I would totally echo that, Franny. And Ross, just kind of your own thoughts on the goal itself, but just kind of what your thoughts are on David Turnbull and his place in the squad. And like you said, as Franny said, I don't believe there's any rumours in this window anyway of him either looking for a move or being linked with any other club. Are we hoping that he's around come February 1st?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm saying that, if you remember, last week I was rhyming off the midfielders and I completely forgot about him, which does say a lot in a sense, but when you remember about him, which I do, which I am now, I think I agree with Franny what he said there. He still has a lot to offer the team. The goal, like he's touched on, he takes it really well. David Turnbull he's probably one of, if not the best striker of a ball in the team. And he's scored numerous goals like that. He scored even better goals than that. I remember he scored a goal, sure it was at Fir Park, and he kind of cuts across it and curls and goes into the top right corner. He's just got that in his locker. I think it's getting to the stage now, and I'm loath to say this because he's a far better player than the guy that I'm going to use as an example. But I think back to, like, say, Johnny Hayes, right? Really good player for Celtic for me. Really good squad player.
Yep.
Turnbull's getting to that sort of stage where he's going to be like that, and that he's a better player than Johnny Hayes. Let's get that right first and foremost, right? But in terms of the squad, I think he's getting to that stage where he's not going to be a first pick. And like Franny said, I said it last week, for his career, it might be better for him to move on. But from a selfish point of view, I would like to see him stay, because, like I've said, he can be that squad player and he can come in, unlike a McCarthy or a Ideguchi. He's going to come in and do the job and get us a goal, no matter when he comes on. He's a better player than them. He's got more to offer. His style suits our style of play better. McCarthy, however you want to dress it up, does not suit Celtic style. He never will. Ideguchi, it looks like he isn't going to either. I think we've touched on it. Awata's came in. He's came in as a defensive midfielder, but he looks, for clips, he looks more technical than the two guys that I've just mentioned. Turnbull is in that bracket of that ilk as well, where he's far more technical than the guys. He's maybe not, well, I was going to say he's maybe not as physical as a Ideguchi, but I've never seen him being physical, to be perfectly honest with you. So, to sum up, I think that I would like to see Turnbull stay, but again, for his own career, it might be better for him to move on. But It all depends. Excuse me. Where the offer comes from, what team it is, because he could leave Celtic and go to another team and find himself in the same position, and they most likely won't be as big a club as Celtic. So I think he's a Celtic fan. He might end up sticking around and try and get back in the team, but I think it's going to be very, very difficult for him to do that because of the quality we've got in that area. But again, Turnbull is a top quality player, and I think he could do a great job for Scotland. But again, he's going to struggle to be able to do that if he doesn't get regular football.
And that's the thing. It's the sort of conundrum for him, isn't it? Although, as Ange says, Celtic, the level that Celtic are at, and all the big clubs, you're not going to be guaranteed first team football sort of anywhere. He's just going to have to do what Ange has challenged all the rest of them to do, and knuckle down and work hard. But I totally agree, Ross. As you say, selfishly, I'd love him to stay. I'm a massive David Turnbull fan. I think he's just one of those really gifted players, and I enjoy watching him play. But also, a fair and valid comparison with the Johnny Hayes kind of situation there as well. But speaking, Ross, I'll come back to you regarding the quality that we have in midfield. One of the reasons why David Turnbull can't really command a regular spot is, of course, the guy who, for me at the moment, is looking pretty much a shoe-in for our play of the year at the moment, and that's Rio Hatate. Another man of the match performance during the week. It's just some of the passes he can find is just absolutely incredible, and just his work rate, his commitment to the team. He's for me one of a total complete midfield player. So just your thoughts on Hatate's man of the match performance, but also his native fellow countryman Kobayashi, who made his debut at centre half alongside Carl Starfelt. They played the centre defensive partnership on Wednesday night, kept a clean sheet. Much to Hugh Keevan's disappointment, I'm sure, with regards to Starfelt. But just your thoughts on our two Japanese stars.
Well, first of all, Hatate, he's phenomenal. Like you say, he's a complete midfielder, and once again, on Wednesday night he was first class, probably our best player on the pitch. But he's just absolutely everywhere. He plays that number 8 role, but he pops up in McGregor's role. He pops up in O'Reilly's role or Moyes' role. He pops up on the right. He's just all over the park. He's got, try to think, he's got probably like the engine, Stan Petrov, but all the guile. I can't think of somebody off the top of my head. We've had that many good players that he like the prime example, finding that pass for Kyogo. I can't think of a player to compare him to with guile, but he's got guile. Do you know what I mean?
What did he?
But I mean, like you say, he is the complete midfield player. In terms of playing for Celtic, can he make that step up? I know that I'm wanting him to leave, not by any stretch, but I'm just thinking, could he make that step up? I fully believe he could. Don't know. I mean, we see him every week and we think he's the complete midfielder, but he's not going to go to like a top 4 English team because they wouldn't take the gamble. But teams like that should take the gamble on guys like Hatate because they're top quality. He could go to any one of the teams. I think he's that good, but he won't, and I'm happy at that, and I hope we keep him for a number of years. But I think he's, like you say, he's a shoe-in for play of the year. It'll be either him or Aaron Moy.
Oh, tremendous. Right, listen, he's certainly a contender, mate. He's certainly a contender.
He's been outstanding for weeks, months.
Massive fan.
But touching on Kobayashi, it was an assured, confident performance, albeit it was comfortable. He wasn't under a lot of pressure. He's got a decent range of passing. But he looks, when Jens first came in and he played his first couple of games, he's got that. He's more of a ball playing centre half. I still think Jens has got, excuse me, he's got a lot to offer. But I don't know if Ange doesn't fancy him, but it's weird because if he doesn't, and I'm only surmising here, but if he doesn't fancy him, I just find it weird because I think looking at the evidence the other night, Kobayashi's come in, he looks a similar type of player, he's a similar build, similar kind of technical, better at coming out with the ball than a Starfelt, but saying that I'm better at coming out the ball than Starfelt. He's been a bomb scare the last few weeks. But I mean, time will tell on Kobayashi, but on the evidence of his debut, quite happy to have him in the door. Whether he'll break up that central partnership in the near future, I'm not sure, but he's here, 5-year deal, so he's here to try and do that. Let's see what happens.
Let's see, indeed. And Franny, what's your own thoughts on Celtic's Japanese boys? Again, as I say, Hatate, no one could really argue with his Man of the Match award, or Player of the Match, whatever it is these days. And of course, Kobayashi making his debut. Obviously, Iwata was on the bench. We thought we would maybe catch a little glimpse of him, but not quite yet. But Kobayashi featured full match, and as I say, clean sheet. Your thoughts?
I was just starting to Kobayashi. I think it was maybe a big surprise to a lot is that Kobayashi came in and for the start and stuff, but after like maybe a tricky-ish start, but I think that was down to the way the whole team never started brilliant and stuff. So it just the physicality. I wouldn't say struggle, but it was a couple of challenges where he just thought he needs to. It was fine as went, but I thought as the game progressed, the guy can be proud, like happy that his performance. He looked confident at the ball, good range of passing and things like that. What are you laughing at?
I had a total amateur moment there with my bottle of beer. Frothed up like a frothed up thing.
You've seen it in good style.
Somebody's on it, by the
way. And then it was very good. He was good in the ball. I say looked assured, good range of passing and things like that. Looked a confident lad. When he was getting in good position in the box and almost scored, as you said earlier, hit the post and stuff. So it was. Have we got Alec Ross? I'm not too sure he'll be breaking up that partnership anytime soon, but necessity doesn't mean that we're any rush to kind of get him in there. Starfelt, as much as maybe he's got that mistake in him, and Carter Vickers, they've got a great partnership together that you can't really argue against. So it's one of them. You don't really need to. If Ange sees him as a starter, it's not something you need to really force right now and try and play him into it. But so we've got that in advantage. And Hatate, I don't think we can rave enough about this guy. He really is a special talent. To think that it cost around about $1.5 million. This guy's apparently only playing professional football for about 2-3 years or something. Like I think sometimes he can look not great in the sense, but it's because I think he tries the hard pass all the time. He tries to break the lines and things, and sometimes it doesn't come off. And even sometimes like 5-yard passes sometimes don't come off. But you tend to give guys like that a wee bit slack because it is trying the difficult passes, being adventurous and things like that. So it helps with things. I've totally lost my train of thought there because I'm trying to watch the comments as well, and I've totally lost my train.
Just thinking
there, kid.
So Hatate, I think the biggest compliment I can probably give Hatate is when he's playing well, Celtic play well. I think he's kind of pivotal with how we play. When he's on it, he just opens up a lot of space in the midfield, and it allows Carl McGregor to really control it for that sort of a number 6 role and stuff. And I say that for he's good at that. We drop at the shoulder and beating a man without actually moving the ball. Sometimes he does it too often. I can't remember what European game it was. It might have even been the Real Madrid game. It was a game that Ross was at my bit watching. It was going absolutely nuts because he'd done it about 3 times in a game and it just didn't come off. And Ross has obviously had to deep dash for something, but
he's away on a mission there, Sonny.
He's away. I think we've got a real special player in our hands with Hatate. Looks assured, like Ross said. He has got elements of petrol in him, just his engine. He always looks raging when he comes off. It could just be the type of guy he is. And to be fair, I think always would want a guy to be disappointed, even when he's played well, to be coming off, whether you're getting a rest or not. Probably just wants to stay on there. But I'm really glad that Ange has brought this guy in, because he does look a real special player.
He does indeed. And you okay there, Ross, son? Yeah.
Aye, the Wayne had Harry Potter absolutely blaring.
Listen, a fine choice of film. We're hoping to watch Deathly Hallows Part 2 soon. The wee man's finished the book now, so he's definitely want to read it. Watch the film, sorry. Great series, man.
Superb.
But as I say, in terms of we're still in the January transfer window, Ross, and obviously rumour mill, as I say, like Willie, we're not the biggest fan of rumours, but I suppose we do have to address a couple of things because they have come from. But certainly one of the rumours is kind of Andrew's more or less confirmed in his press conference today. But I'll also mention that there's one of the rumours hotting up. There's another South Korean striker on the back of the Shogi Sung deal, kind of breaking down, or the player deciding he wants to wait until the summer. We're not hanging about for anybody. I think we learned that after the Eddie Howe debacle. It's looking like now, as I say, I've looked at the guy's name, and is it Oh Hyun Goy? That's
the other Korean boy.
This is the other Korean striker.
Sorry, I never seen the presser today. Who is it he's confirmed about?
Well, he didn't confirm it, but he basically sort of said he got asked directly about Giakoumakis. He got asked initially about incomings and outgoings, and then he sort of says there's been progress, but as of the moment, everyone's like there's not been any departures, and until then they'll be available for selection as per. Giakoumakis was then sort of mentioned outright, and he sort of kind of repeated himself, but did say that progress has been made on it. Right. So, which suggests that he possibly already has played his last game unless he features tomorrow, because he did say that he expects things to happen in the next couple of days. So, as I say, which kind of marries into the point that if Giakoumakis is leaving, then we absolutely have to either have someone in the building before he goes, or have the paperwork signed, sealed, and delivered before he goes.
Aye, 100%. And obviously, this other Korean boy, forget his name. I didn't even know if it was down in front of me. But we've said it. Like, if Giakoumakis goes, the only way he'll get to go, as like you've said, if the paperwork's signed or the guy's in the building. That is how Celtic have been working for Ange came in. The proof's in the pudding with the Juranovic one. He's been rumoured to go. We've brought in Johnston. Ange wants to have options all over the park, and he doesn't want to be left with one option to a central striker. I know we've got the young, I can't mind his name. Is it? What's the young guy that we've got? The striker.
Oh, I know. Is it Vata?
No.
Is he a striker? Like, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Though he scored a few goals in pre-season.
Aye, I can't remember his name, but we've obviously got him. But you can't rely on that when you're trying to protect your 9-point lead that somebody inherited. But we'll not go into that. But you can't go into protecting that lead and trying to get over the line. And still 3 competitions. You've got to. I'm not saying we're going to get it, but you've got to be hopeful of getting a treble. We've got a final to play. We're 9 points in front in the league, and we're still in the Scottish Cup. But to maintain that, you can't go in with just Kyogo, because if he gets injured, I know we've got Abada, we've got Maeda that can come in there, even Haksabanovic, but they're not natural. They can come in and do a job. They're not natural. We need to get somebody else in the door. We wanted the big no, I can't remember their names, so forgive me. But we wanted the big Korean boy in. We've not failed to do it, but he's obviously not wanting to come now. He's wanting to stay with his club and move in the summer, which is fair enough. That's not on Celtic. So then, I mean, you go for essentially what you could say is your second choice, but at the end of the day, Giakoumakis is one out the door by the looks of things. So sometimes you just have to go with your second choice. And let's be honest, going with your second choice fucking has worked out really well for us in the past. No less, Ange Postecoglou.
Ange Postecoglou last summer, and of course, Franny, this time last year we were all waiting on Riley McGree being announced, and he decided that the Riverside was apparently a better place to further his football career than under the stewardship of a guy who'd coached at the World Cup, who was managing a team that was about to win the league and participate in the Champions League. But Matt O'Reilly fancied the gig. That kind of worked out all right, didn't it?
I certainly worked. Obviously, you're speaking of Ben Whiteside, but I think it was costing 45 million for Riley McGree, and then you've got Matt O'Reilly for about 1.5. I think we've got the best end of the deal there. It's absolutely brilliant. And just a wee quick one, where is it? There, Morton, he's trying again. He did it last week. He's desperate for Kevin Nisbet.
I think he's at it.
Agree to disagree is fast approaching, Monty.
I think Monty's his agent, sir. I think Monty's Kevin Nisbet's agent, sir.
Monty's his dad.
And I can't bring some of them up. It's Kaiser. Got some of the best comments in there about some of the Korean boys that Rangers are gone in for. I think you can guess what some of them are saying.
I've seen them heavily linked with one of them, which raised a chuckle the day when I seen it.
I'll leave them in the comments for folk to have a wee joke about them. But so the other boy, like you say, I said a few times I was desperate for us to sign this show. Again, similar to Giakoumakis one, how it's near Marie. I've not got a clue about this guy, Joe, but that was a YouTube clip, got carried away with him, wanted him.
Is that the bigger one, the first?
I think that was the first boy, the first boy. It just, like everybody's YouTube clips, they're all brilliant. And I had to sign in. I had to sign in a superstar, so I was desperate for him to come in. But the other boy again, going by YouTube clips, looks a really good player. I would trust Ange. He's got a pretty good success rate when it comes to signings and stuff. I think even if you included guys like McCarthy and that in it, as much as we probably McCarthy isn't an Ange signing, but it was a numbers needed guys in. Yeah. They could get something like McCarthy. Even when you include guys like that, I would say his hit rate is probably pretty good. Like, it's, if you look at all Ange's signings, there's a lot of them that have been successes. A few, not many, have not really done it. The second one, I think McCarthy, Adeguchi, Abelgard, there will be others that have not really. You can definitely put down as failures.
I would say, Franny, those three essentially, and I think there's mitigating circumstances. I would say for 2 out of those 3. So I just think his success rate's phenomenal. Sorry, interrupt, carry on.
I was just going to say, sorry, Franny.
No, sorry.
That most of the guys he's signed, he's very familiar with. He's seen them playing in the flesh. Certainly the Japanese guys for the J League, and most of them have been a success. But then I don't think he's been as familiar with guys like Johnston, but looks to be a success. So I don't know how familiar he is with the Korean guys, but he must be fairly. And I think he's obviously got a good network out there looking for players that he trusts as well. So I mean, you've just like Franny's sort of alluding to before we interrupted. He's carry on.
I think he knows, like, every manager knows their market. He'll know the Asian market, predominantly the Japanese one. And it just turns out there seems to be a lot of gems in that neck of the woods for us. And like, I think strange of the doctor said it as well. Like, Nisbet, I do think is a good player. I don't think he takes us a next level, but the money I think it would take you to get a Nisbet in, you'd probably get that boy Chu Joe and the other guy in for career. And I think they, without knowing them, I think you can get two decent enough players, probably as good, maybe better than Nisbet for the money Hibs would want. Simply, Hibs will probably try and ask for more money because you're buying for a rival, so to speak, same league and things like that. It's essentially making them a lot weaker because you're taking their better players. But the new Korean boy, it's a market that Ange knows. He knows there's gems in there. There's got to be a time where we'll go for one and we're got to get charged silly money. But it's, like we say, he's got a great success rate, and the market has predominantly been the Asian one. So I've just kind of got to trust the guy until the guy's through the door and we see what he can do. You can't really judge comments as much as, well, me personally, and we'll get excited there YouTube clips and stuff, but we can't really get a proper value until the guy's, as well, likes to say, scarf above his head and at the steps and stuff, and get a few games under his belt.
Well, that's it. And I think that's probably enough of the rumour mill chat, because you know what it's like. We're not the biggest fans of them, but we obviously do have to comment on them because it is the January.
Me and Stephen love them. Me and Stephen, we'll run with anything. We will run with anything.
Well, I think Molly would prefer it if it was like, if we were like Sky Sports and didn't announce it until that was it, signed, sealed and delivered. As Molly says, he's a scarf above the head kind of boy. But obviously, the Celts are back in action this weekend, Ross. Our Scottish Cup campaign gets underway, and obviously we hope that'll culminate with a 41st success in the tournament. And without being disrespectful to Greenock Morton, because you know we've obviously slipped up a few times in the past with these so-called easier draws, but if you were looking for any match to kick a campaign off in the Scottish Cup, you would always want a home draw against a side from a league below.
Absolutely. It's a perfect tie, like you say, to kick off the tournament for us. I think it's a game that, I mean, we've made light work of almost every team in the Premier League, so you never know on the day. It's a cup tie, but on paper, that should be a given that Celtic will win that game. It should be a comfortable day, even if it's. It might be one of the games where they totally control the full match, but maybe it'll only be 2 or 3-0, but that's fine. As long as they win the game and go over the line and get into the next round. And I fully expect them to do that.
I very much agree. What about yourself, Franco? You going to see the game tomorrow? You going along, or will it just be a TV job for the start of our cup campaign for you?
I suppose it'll depend on what Lynn wants to do. She'll maybe want to go a soft play with the Wains or something. It's time.
I'm not going to see it.
So hopefully I will see it, but it's like say a home tie against a lower league team. It's kind of what you want for the Scottish Cup to get the campaign off to, which should be a positive start. Should be. I don't know if fans will do it. We'll maybe get in that late. We'll get in it later, but it's a chance to. Not necessarily youngsters, but the guys that like you're maybe your Awatas and stuff like that. Maybe even I doubt you'll be near it, but like some of your sort of fringe players that are not, or guys coming back like Haksabanovic and things like that. It'll be a good chance to get them in the team and get them a competitive 90 minutes under their belt and stuff. So it could still be an exciting game, just considering the team that could go out. So hopefully, I'm hoping for lots of changes just to get guys 90 minutes under their belt, Anthony, that are not getting the game time they really want to get, and guys, like I said, Haksabanovic coming back.
I think that's he obviously came on from the bench on Wednesday night and, you know, obviously looked a little bit off the pace, not in terms of fitness, just that match sharpness that you mentioned, Franny. I don't suppose you got a lineup prediction there, Franny, before we do our scores, or are you going to have to do this off the top of your head?
I think Joe Hart will start because I think Seagrass, I'm not too sure if he's back for his injury on. I didn't see the point in putting Bain in. I think he's third choice at best, and it's what's really the point in putting him in. To be fair, I think if Seagrass was fit, I think he would have started. And I think I read that Ralston is injured, so I think that might mean John. And I seen Taylor was back.
tits up then.
I could be wrong, Ross. I could be wrong. But I think so. I think that means Ronson will have to play it right back because I think Taylor was back. And maybe I'll put I'm going to go Juranovic with Bernabe at left back. Surely can trust him against Morton at Parkhead. Centre halves, I think he'll stick with Starfelt and Kobayashi. I think he's already confirmed that CZV will not be back. And the fact that Jens wasn't on the bench the other night and Welsh was, I think the writing's on the wall for Jens. But I don't know what's happened there. He seemed to say a massive comment about how he wants to beat Celtic and has never been seen since. I didn't get that one with Jens. The midfield, Callum McGregor, because he just always plays. And Moy and O'Reilly, I think, will play. I would like to see a Watt come in, but I think that'll be my midfield three. And then the front three, I think it'll be Forrest. I'm going to go Giacomakis. I think he might just play him. And then out in the left, Haksabanovic. That's what I would go.
Fair enough. What about yourself, Roscoe? Did you have a lineup?
I did until Franny told me half the guys were missing. But if Siegrist isn't fit, then it'll be Hart and goal. If Siegrist is fit, I expect him to start. On the right, I was going to go with Ralston, but again, if Franny's right in what he's saying, then I'll go Alistair Johnston on the right, just because Franny said Juranovic. Bernabe back central pairing Starfelt and Kobayashi again. I think there's no point if CCV was injured. I don't think there's much point in putting him into a game like this. I think our midfield three. I think Awata will get a start. I think he'll play in the 6 role. McGregor will push up one, and I think we'll see Turnbull going into the 10 role. I think off the back of getting his goal the other night, I think he'll start in there, and then I think that we'll go with, like Franny had said, guys like Haksabanovic. This is good to get them back into the team and back in 90 minutes under their belt. So I think he'll be in the left, Forrest on the right, and I think he'll play Kyogo through the middle.
That's pretty good. I actually went with Siegrist as well, just because I wasn't sure if he's back or not. But if not, like you say, it'll be Joe Hart, I think. I went Johnston on the right, Bernabe on the left, Kobayashi and Starfelt, McGregor, Turnbull, and I thought a debut for Iwata. Perhaps, although it might well be that he might just feature for the bench, probably, when more I think about it. But I went for the same as you guys. Up front, I had Haksabanovic. On the left, I had Forrest on the right as well, and Kyogo up front. Just as I say, if it's looking like GG was possibly away, I don't think he's going to start the match. But we get it wrong 99% of the time, so it'll probably be a completely different game. Probably have Warren Lawal starting and Scott Bain in goals and on the like.
Two up top.
Kyogo and GG up front, you know. So in a score prediction, boys, I'll go for a hassle-free, I'll say 4, rather than my usual 2. I'll double it for a cup.
I'll say I'm going to go 4 as well.
I'll go 3.
3. Three's a favourite number of ours. Last couple of years, so I know. We'll very gladly take that. So, boys, we move on to, and as I say, the one topic I was going to do for an agree to disagree tonight, it's kind of came up already, so I think you should know what to expect. And you know the 12 now. You know the score. This is agree to disagree. You get a statement made, and you have 4 options. You can either strongly agree with it, agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. You can give us your reasons why, and then I'll give my tuppence worth at the end. So, Ross, I'm going to come to you first. I think I know what the answer is going to be. But the agree to disagree is as follows. Quite simply, Celtic should sign Kevin Nisbet.
I disagree.
Okay.
Purely because I've listened to people's arguments for. I'm in the camp where I feel like we need maybe the 3 strikers. We don't. It's not essential, but if he was to come in, then he could be a good option for a third striker. He would do okay domestically. I don't think he can be a guy that takes us to any level in the Champions League. But my issue is if he's coming in as a third striker, the price tag would be paying for a guy to more or less sit on the bench. I think Hibs would be looking in the region of looking for to get 2 to 3 million for him. I don't think we're in the market to sign a guy that's third choice, but I don't think we're going to pay that amount of money for him. So I wouldn't personally pay that amount of money for him to be a third choice striker. Is he even worth that to be a number 1 striker? No, because I don't think he can come in to a club like Celtic and be that number 1 striker. I think he's a Hibs and Aberdeen. He could do a job for Hearts. I think he's in the same bracket as a Shankland. I don't think he's any better than him. They're both good finishers. Does he like to play up better? Is he stronger? Does he work harder than Shankland? No, for me. I don't think he's anywhere near the quality of what I expect a Celtic player to be, and certainly now. I go back to when Lee Griffiths came into Celtic. He'd obviously been at Hibs before that. He'd been down south, done not great with Wolves, but Lee Griffiths had far more qualities as a footballer than what Kevin Nisbet. And I'm not hanging. Franny was on the boat where he didn't think Griffiths could have done the job. I thought he could have. I thought Lee Griffiths was ready made to come into that Celtic team. Could Lee Griffiths that came into Celtic come into this Celtic team now? Maybe not. Maybe I don't think he could. The way we play, I don't think he could come into a Celtic team now and be the first choice striker. I still think he's a far better player than Kevin Nisbet. So for me, I think Kevin Nisbet, he showed against Motherwell at Fir Park that he is a very good finisher, but I don't think that he could do it on a regular basis. For us, I think it would be... No, that's unfair. I was going to say he would end up being like a Derek Riordan, but that's unfair because he was a clown. But I'll go back to it. I don't think that we can be paying £2 or £3 million for a third choice striker, and that's what he would be. I don't even think Ange's in the market for a third choice striker, to be perfectly honest with you. It's hard enough keeping 2 happy when one of them is going to play pretty much all the time. Kevin Nisbet's not going to leave Hibs. I'd be very surprised unless it was for money. It wouldn't be footballing, because I think he knows as well as most days that he's not going to get in the team before Kyogo. He's not anywhere near as good as Giakoumakis, and he can't oust him. So, no for me. But the reason I'm not strongly disagreeing is because I think he could do a job as a third choice striker and do well for us in the Premier League. But the price tag would have to pay. No,
not for you. You made your statement and you backed it up with a very fair argument, Roscoe, as you always do. Franny, what is your thoughts on us signing Hibs star man?
I would very much similar to Ross. Like I would strongly disagree, because if it was to replace Giakoumakis, I strongly disagree, because I think, well, one, he's just not as good a player as him. Simple as that. And then if the stories are what the papers are saying, how Giakoumakis wants a better deal, the money it would cost to get Nisbet, I think, gives you that better deal for Giakoumakis. So it would just, for a business sense, it makes zero sense. But if it was coming in, I'm with Ross as well, I think we need a third striker. So if it's coming in as a third striker, it probably would. It would improve the squad domestically, which would help with us competing in cups and hope to go deep in cups and things. So it would help bulk out the squad, I feel like. But again, it's the money. I know we're sitting with a lot of money in the bank, going to the accounts, but I don't know what I'd be spending. I actually think Hibs would go closer to probably 45 million for something like this, because I think he's actually our top goal scorer, and that's just came for January when he's came back his injury and things. So I think they would be wanting maybe 3 to 5 million for the guy, and Celtic's no really got to be paying that. I don't think for what I would be wanting as a first choice striker. And I just, again, if Giakoumakis was leaving and that was your replacement, I think he's a sideways steps at a big push. If you're bringing in Nisbet to replace Giakoumakis, I think that weakens you. So I would strongly disagree. The guy's never really done it. He's also off the back of a major knee injury and stuff, so it would be a massive risk bringing a guy in that's just back for a cruciate ligament injuries and things. So, I'd be totally against it, Anthony. But I say totally against it. I just for the money I think it would cost to get him, I didn't think it makes sense. Unless it's the first choice striker. If it's a first choice striker, I'll take him.
Do you guys? How long has he got left on his contract at Hibs? Do we know?
I think it's a year and a half. I think it's next summer.
I think if he was on a longer term contract, I don't think Hibs are. I mean, and I'm not going to bring up the whole saga. I'm just bringing the name up. One of the big problems when we tried to sign McGinn was, as much as both parties were at fault. I would say us more than them, but both parties were at fault. Was Hibs were wanting a rather ridiculous amount of money for a player that was in the last year of his contract, whereas when we paid that kind of money for Scott Brown was still, I think he's still a good 2 or 3 years left to run on it, which is why we paid the monies that we did for Scott Brown. They wanted the same for McGinn when they didn't. That just in terms of value, it wasn't worth us paying that. But then, of course, everything else happened, and as I say, we'll not go into the McGinn transfer saga. But if McGinn, I think if Nisbet's only got a year left on his deal, then to be fair, if they asked for £3 million, if we were ever to make that inquiry, you could tell them where to go, because he's not worth that when he's only got a short amount of time left on his contract. But Bhoys, you argue your points very well. I'm going to give you the reasons why I agree with it. And before we go any further, I would definitely say as well that I agree it's a third choice option. I would certainly not have him in for a replacement of any kind for Giakoumakis. For one, they're just not even remotely the same type of player. But I think Giakoumakis just does that more, almost like aggressiveness to his game that we seem to have taken to and has paid dividends for us this last season. That's a potential Kaiser, absolutely. But I think where I would always say, and I agree as well, I know we always kid on with Stephen that he's always on SPL watch on signing players for this league. We've always looked, certainly in recent times, to sign the best sort of, I know Johnny Hayes is Irish, right enough, so but let's just say the best home nation contingent for the SPL in recent years, and they've always ended up at us. You look at obviously Scott Brown was one of them. You look at Stuart Armstrong, David Turnbull, Ryan Christie, Johnny Hayes was the best player out with at Celtic in the SPL for a good couple of years before he signed with us. So we've always looked to get the best talent from the SPL as well as, further ashore. But I do think that Nisbet would offer you something different. I think, and as you guys know, it's not me just jumping on the bandwagon. This time last year or the year before that, when it was potentially we were going to sign him, when Postecoglou first came, I said that I was a fan of him. He obviously had that horrific injury, and it's taken him a little while to get back up to speed. But I think he's just, and I might be completely wrong, but for me, I think he's one of those players that could do something. And when he's made the steps up, I know he was lower league before he went. He was scoring goals at the club. I can't remember which team it was he was at before he moved to Hibs. He moved to Hibs. He's made that. He stepped up to the grade. As I say, I appreciate he's had the injury, but he's getting back to his best. I do think that he's the type of player that if he needs to make the step up, I think he'll raise his game. Where I do agree with Ross is he's not going to shift Kyogo out the team, and we don't know yet if he's going to be good enough for a second. But could he be the third choice? Would he want to come as a third choice? that's another question. But the one thing that I would say that stands in his favour is that we obviously do need a Scottish contingent for our European squads. And you look at I think we barely make the grade just now with in terms of homegrown talent and Scottish players that we have at the moment. And part of that is made up by Stephen Welsh and James McCarthy and James Forrest, who we accept he'll be there for a couple of years yet. And Scott Bain as well, which we don't know what's going to happen with him at the end of the season, if he's going to fancy going away for first team football. It looks like we're open to bids now for Welsh. James McCarthy would probably, if anyone showed an interest, he could probably leave the door as well, which leaves us quite short in the homegrown area for registering for a European team. So that's one of the big things that I think he has in his favour, as much as I think his abilities on the park could help us. As I say, I know it's the easiest thing in the world. Hibs striker is playing well. Let's link him with Celtic in the transfer window. And I don't actually think it will happen, especially at least not in this window anyway. But I think overall, I think there's something there that intrigues me about Nisbet. And whilst I don't think he'll ever go over, take over Kyogo, I think he would. I think he'd do a job for us. Whether that's enough to persuade him to come, I don't know. But that's for another time, boys. We'll find out. There's still 2 weeks left in the window. And but in terms of tonight's show, I think that's pretty much us. To be honest, you boys had a good time.
Decent, mate. Aye, just good to be on talking about Celtic. I enjoyed that wee chat about Nisbet there. It's interesting, and it does intrigue me as well. And by the way, can I just say, I'm not against Celtic signing the best Scottish talent for the SPL. I'm all for it if I think they're good enough. And I wouldn't be absolutely livid if Nisbet signed. I would want him to do well, and I would want to be proved wrong. But, I mean, time will tell on that. It's just a rumour at the moment. But in terms of the podcast, I've had a really good night. Top hosting at short notice, Anthony. Fair play to you, kid.
Thanks, son. But a host is only as good as the panel on the show. And as I say, we've got the A team tonight. Not that there's anybody that's not in the A team, just that Wally and John are listening and are about to take offence at that. But what about yourself, Franny?
It was good after a couple of wee technical errors at the start. It turns out John somehow changed it from black to green. Not got a clue, but I was getting dogs abuse in the text messages of John. I was like,
his own room from black to green now.
So how did you change it?
John apparently changed it.
Oh, John done it.
Aye. But aye.
It's like Sauron, he's watching us.
Been good, Anthony. Try to keep I don't know how Stephen and Willie, I know Willie's kind of been doing it lately at times as well. I don't know how they do that. I think this is the third time I've done the comments. I don't know how boys sit and talk and keep an eye on them.
I can't even multitask like that.
Aye, it's been good, Anthony. It's been
good. For what it's worth, Franco, I think you've done well. And as I say, thanks to all the guys, all the regulars for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. Thanks for getting involved in the discussion as well. Wherever you're seeing the game this weekend, whether you're going along or just watching it on the telly, here's hoping for a good result for the boys, and we will be recapping our performance in the Scottish Cup on Monday's show at 8 o'clock. But until then, stay well and keep safe, folks. Hail, hail.